My wife's friends told her to treat me like I didn't exist for a month. By week 2, I was gone, and she found a note saying invisible means gone. All right, Reddit, buckle up because this one's a trip. My wife and her book club decided I needed to be treated like furniture for a month to teach me appreciation. 2 weeks in, I showed them what invisible actually looks like. Let me back up and give you the full picture, starting with who I am and why this whole thing went nuclear the way it did. I'm Jake, 35, and I've been in HVAC for 13 years. Started as an apprentice right out of high school when college wasn't really in the cards financially. Turned out I was pretty good at it. Diagnosing a busted compressor, rewiring a commercial system, troubleshooting a furnace that's making sounds like a dying animal. I got a knack for it. Worked under this older guy named Phil for 7 years. Learned everything from residential installs to big commercial jobs. Phil taught me the old school way. How to read a system by sound before you even pop the panel. How to spot a refrigerant leak from the frost pattern. How to talk to customers so they understood what was wrong without feeling like you were ripping them off. When Phil retired 3 years ago, he sold me his client list for $20,000. Best investment I ever made. That list had 230 households, 15 commercial accounts, and 8 property management companies. Steady work. Repeat customers. People who called me first when something broke because they trusted me. I'd built on that foundation too. Added another 100 residential clients through word of mouth. Picked up 3 more commercial contracts, including a medical office building that needed quarterly maintenance on 6 separate HVAC units. These days I run my own operation. Just me and one helper named Ronnie who's learning the trade. We do residential service calls, new installs, maintenance contracts. I'm not getting rich, but I clear about 8 grand a month after expenses. Sometimes 9 during summer when everyone's AC dies. Some months hit 10 when I land a full system replacement. Those jobs run anywhere from 8 to 15,000, depending on the house size and equipment quality. I work my tail off though. Up at 6, usually not home until 7 or 8. Weekends are maintenance contracts and emergency calls. The phone rings at 2 a.m. when someone's heat goes out in January and they have a newborn in the house. I'm the one who shows up within 40 minutes. That's the job. You build a reputation on being reliable, and I'd spent 13 years building mine, brick by brick. My setup's pretty solid. I own a 2019 Ford F-250 with a custom ladder rack and tool storage system I designed myself. Paid 42 grand for it. Paid it off in 3 years. The truck's got everything I need. Diagnostic equipment including a digital manifold gauge set that cost 2 grand alone, refrigerant recovery machine, vacuum pump, spare parts organized by system type, tool bags for different job categories. I've got compartments for copper fittings, another for electrical components, another for filters and belts. My cordless drill set, impact driver, sawzall, and multimeter all have designated spots. I'm particular about my systems because I learned early that hunting for a $3 part can cost you $30 in wasted time. When you're running 6 service calls a day, efficiency matters. Every minute I'm digging through a messy truck is money lost and a customer waiting. My truck is organized like a surgical suite. Everything has a place and everything stays in its place. The house is mine too. Well, was mine. 3-bedroom ranch I bought in 2018 for $270,000. Needed work when I bought it, but I did most of it myself. New HVAC system, obviously. Updated electrical. Refinished the floors. It's worth about $340 now. I put 20% down back then, because my dad drilled into my head that debt is a trap. He went through a nasty divorce when I was 15. Lost half of everything because he didn't protect himself. His advice stuck. Always keep separate accounts. Always have an exit strategy. Always document everything. So I kept my business account separate. My personal checking separate. We had a joint account for household stuff that I funded. Rachel had access to that, but not my main accounts. I thought I was being smart. Thought I was protecting what I'd built. Turns out I wasn't protecting myself from the right thing. Here's how Rachel and I started. We met 6 years ago at a friend's barbecue. I was 29. She was 27. I remember she was wearing this yellow sundress and laughing at something her friend said. She had this energy, you know? Like she lit up whatever room she was in. We got to talking, and she seemed genuinely interested in what I did. Asked questions about the work. Didn't act like being a tradesman was beneath her. That mattered to me because I'd dated women before who looked down on blue-collar guys. Our first date was mini golf and ice cream. Real casual. She was funny, easy to talk to, and didn't pull out her phone every 5 minutes. Second date, I took her to this Italian place she'd mentioned. Third date, we went hiking, and I brought my camera to take some photos. I used to be into photography before work ate up all my time. She loved that about me, or at least she said she did. Said I was interesting, that I had depth. Made me feel like I was more than just the HVAC guy. The first year was great. We did weekend trips to the mountains, went to concerts, tried new restaurants. She'd come with me to Home Depot and help me pick out stuff for house projects. We'd cook dinner together and binge watch shows. Normal couple stuff. I remember our third date we went hiking at Amicalola Falls. I brought my camera and spent an hour shooting the waterfall from different angles while she sat on the rocks reading. When I came back, she'd unpack the lunch I'd brought and set it up like a little picnic. Sandwiches, chips, those fancy cookies from the bakery she liked. We sat there for 2 hours just talking about everything. Our families, our childhoods, what we wanted out of life. She told me about growing up with two sisters and always feeling like the middle child who got overlooked. I told her about my parents' divorce and how it shaped my view on relationships. Made me cautious, but also made me value honesty and communication. She said she valued those things too. I believed her. That first summer, we went to outdoor concerts in Piedmont Park. She'd pack a blanket and snacks. I'd drive us there early to get a good spot. We'd lay there watching the sunset before the music started, her head on my shoulder, talking about nothing and everything. Those moments felt real. Felt like we were building something solid. She worked as a receptionist at a dental office, making about $31,000 a year. I made 3 times that, but it never seemed like an issue at first. We split dates initially, then I started covering more because I could afford it and she couldn't. Seemed fair. She'd offer to pay sometimes, but I could see it stressed her out checking her bank account before agreeing to go somewhere. So I just started handling it. Didn't think much of it. She moved in after dating for 18 months. That's when I really should have paid attention because things shifted. Little things at first. She stopped offering to pay for anything. Just assumed I'd cover it since I made more. Started buying stuff for the house without asking, charging it to the joint account I'd set up. A new rug here, decorative pillows there, kitchen gadgets she used once. I didn't say much because I didn't want to be the jerk who nickel and dimed his girlfriend. Rachel was social. Like, really social. She had a tight group of girlfriends from college who got together constantly. Book club every other Thursday, brunch every Sunday, girls' nights twice a week. I didn't mind at first. I worked long hours anyway, and she deserved friends. But her friends were a particular type, the kind who compared everything, who had the bigger house, whose boyfriend made more money, who went on the better vacation. Rachel started making comments. Like when I bought the work truck, she said it was nice, but wished I'd gotten a luxury SUV instead, so we could take weekend trips in style. Or when I spent money on camera equipment, she'd ask why I needed expensive hobbies when the house needed updates. We got engaged after 3 years. I proposed during a trip to Charleston. She cried, called her mom, posted photos on social media immediately. Wedding planning started, and I realized Rachel had expensive taste. Wanted a venue that cost $18,000 just for the rental. Wanted a photographer who charged $6,000. Wanted a honeymoon in Europe that would have cost $15,000. I pushed back on the wedding costs and we compromised on something smaller. But she resented it, made comments to her friends about how I was cheap. I heard her on the phone once saying I didn't understand how important this day was for her. My best friend Tony called it early. Tony and I met in high school shop class, stayed tight ever since. He's a welder, runs his own metal fabrication shop. Salt of the earth type guy. About 6 months before the wedding, Tony pulled me aside at a bar and said, "Man, I like Rachel, but she's expensive. You sure about this?" I brushed him off. Said she'd settle down after the wedding. Said she just wanted things nice. Tony didn't push, but he had this look like he knew I was making a mistake. The red flags really started stacking up after we got married. Year 4 of being together, year 1 of marriage. Rachel's spending got worse. She'd drop $150 on getting her nails done every 2 weeks. Not just regular polish, but gel, with designs that took 2 hours. $200 on her hair every 6 weeks. Highlights, toner, special treatments. $300 on brunch with her friends every Sunday. I saw the credit card statements. Mimosas at $30 for a carafe. Avocado toast for $18. Fancy coffee drinks. The brunch bills alone were $1,200 a month. New clothes constantly from boutiques I'd never heard of. Anthropologie, Free People, Reformation. Stuff she wore once, cut the tags off, then shoved in the closet still on the hanger. I started tracking the joint account and realized she was burning through $4,500 a month on personal stuff. That didn't include groceries or utilities or anything actually necessary, just her entertainment and appearance maintenance. I brought it up on a Tuesday evening in March. Sat her down with printouts of the account statements. Tried to be diplomatic. Said maybe we should set a budget since we were talking about saving for a bigger house eventually. She got defensive immediately. Accused me of tracking her spending like she was a child. Said I was being controlling. Said she worked hard too and deserved nice things because her life was stressful dealing with patients and scheduling all day. Said if I made more money, she wouldn't have to worry about budgets. That last part stung the most because I was working 60-hour weeks sometimes, coming home covered in insulation that made my skin itch, crawling through attics in 100-degree heat, dealing with customers who were angry their AC broke on the hottest day of the year, like it was somehow my fault, missing dinner constantly because someone's heat went out and they had elderly parents or small kids in the house. I worked hard, but to Rachel it wasn't enough because I didn't wear a suit or have an office job or make six figures sitting at a desk. Her phone habits changed too. She'd angle it away from me, changed her passcode from our anniversary to something random, started taking calls in another room. When I asked about it, she said I was being paranoid, said her friends complained about controlling husbands and she wasn't going to deal with that. I backed off because I didn't want to be that guy. But the gut feeling stayed. Intimacy tanked. We went from a few times a week to maybe twice a month. She was always too tired or not in the mood. But she had energy to go out with her friends 3 nights a week, had energy to stay up until midnight, scrolling social media. Just not energy for me. I tried talking about it, and she said I was pressuring her, said I needed to be more romantic, said maybe if I took her out more or bought her flowers or planned dates, she'd be more interested. So I tried that, made reservations at nice places, bought flowers every Friday, planned a weekend getaway. Nothing changed. The dynamic had completely flipped from our early days. I went from being interesting and different to being insufficient, from being appreciated to being taken for granted. I provided the house, the money, the stability. She provided criticism and demands for more. I was walking on eggshells in my own home, trying to avoid fights by just keeping my head down and working more. Then came that Thursday evening, the one that changed everything. I'd finished up a maintenance contract early, around 4 in the afternoon. Rare for me to be home before dark on a weekday. I came through the garage with my toolbox, heard voices in the living room. Rachel's book club was meeting. 5 women, including Rachel, sitting around the coffee table with wine glasses and a stack of books I was pretty sure they hadn't actually read. They mostly used book club as an excuse to gossip and plan their next social event. I walked into the living room, smiled, and said hey to everyone. Not a single person responded. They all looked at me for maybe 2 seconds, then deliberately looked away, like I just announced I had a contagious disease. Rachel didn't even glance in my direction, just kept talking about whatever they'd been discussing. I stood there holding my toolbox, confused. I tried again. Everything good? Anyone need anything? Nothing. Not one word. Not a flicker of acknowledgement. These women kept talking right over me about some relationship psychology book. One of them, Monica, was saying something about communication and power dynamics, about teaching partners lessons through strategic withdrawal of attention. I didn't catch all of it because I was too busy processing the fact that 5 adults were pretending I didn't exist. I set my toolbox down, walked closer to the group. Rachel, what's going on? She stood up, walked past me to refill her wine glass, reached around me like I was furniture, didn't even brush against me. That's when it clicked. This wasn't accidental. This was coordinated. The way they weren't looking at me was too precise, too deliberate. Book club wrapped up an hour later. All 5 women said goodbye to Rachel, hugged her, told her to stay strong. Not one of them looked at me on the way out. I was standing right there by the door, and they walked around me like I was a coat rack. After they left, Rachel went straight upstairs. I followed her, trying to figure out what was happening. She got ready for bed in complete silence, put her earbuds in, turned away from me. I lay there that first night running through possibilities. Was she mad about something I'd forgotten? Anniversary? Birthday? No, those weren't for months. Something I'd said? I replayed recent conversations and came up empty. Then I remembered Monica talking about that book. Strategic withdrawal of attention. Teaching partners lessons. It started connecting. That book club had voted on something. They decided to teach me some kind of lesson. And Rachel had agreed to it. I didn't sleep much that night. Rachel slept fine. Or at least she pretended to. The next morning I made coffee. Rachel came down and made her own in a different mug. Didn't touch the pot I'd made. Didn't acknowledge it existed. I tried casual conversation. Sleep okay? Silence. Complete and total. Not even a glance in my direction. She made herself toast. Left my usual breakfast setup untouched in the cabinet. Usually I'd have cereal and fruit laid out. Not today. Then went to her home office and closed the door. I heard the lock click. That's when I knew. This was going to continue. This wasn't a one-day statement or her being mad about something specific I could apologize for. This was a planned campaign with a timeline and an objective. I worked from my laptop in the living room that day, had some invoicing to catch up on, quotes to send out for upcoming jobs, a parts order to place. Rachel came out around noon for lunch, made herself a sandwich from the leftover chicken in the fridge. Didn't offer me one even though she made enough for 2 sandwiches. She was on her phone the whole time, laughing at something, texting back and forth with someone, happy and animated, full of life and expression. Then she looked up and saw me watching her from my laptop. Her face went blank, just flat, like someone hit a power switch. The smile disappeared. The light in her eyes went out. She was looking through me, not at me. I texted her right then. Can we please talk about what's happening? I watched her phone light up on the counter, watched her pick it up, saw the typing dots appear. They bounced for maybe 5 seconds, then disappeared. No response. She put the phone back down, finished her sandwich standing at the counter, and went back to her office. Door closed. Lock clicked again. That's when something shifted in my head. A weird clarity. If she wanted to ignore me, fine. But I didn't have to keep serving her while being ignored. I didn't have to keep up my side of things if she wasn't acknowledging I existed. That evening, I ordered Chinese takeout. Enough for one person. Sat at the table and ate while Rachel microwaved some leftovers. I didn't offer her any of mine. She glanced at my food, then quickly looked away. But I caught the flash of frustration on her face. She wanted me to keep doing husband things while she taught me this lesson. Cook for both of us. Handle the yard. Fix stuff around the house. Pay the bills. All while being treated like I wasn't there. That wasn't how Invisible worked. Saturday morning, I broke her routine. Normally, I did yard work on Saturdays. Mowed, edged, trimmed the hedges. The yard was starting to look rough. This time, I slept in until 10. Rachel came to the bedroom door twice. I heard her footsteps, heard her pause outside, heard her leave. Around 11, I heard her downstairs on the phone with someone. I don't know. He's still asleep. The yard looks terrible. When I finally got up around noon, I made myself an elaborate breakfast. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, the works. Left the kitchen slightly messy. Then I sat down and did something I hadn't done in years. I pulled out my old Canon camera and 3 lenses from the back of the closet where they'd been buried under boxes of Rachel's craft supplies that she'd never actually touched. I used to do photography seriously. Landscape stuff mostly. Had some prints in local galleries. Sold a few pieces. Spent every weekend chasing golden hour or hiking to remote locations for sunrise shots. But Rachel had complained. Too much time away. Too much money on equipment. The house needed attention. So little by little, I'd stopped going out. Sold some gear. Let the hobby die. But if I was invisible anyway, I could do whatever I wanted. I set up all my camera equipment on the dining room table to clean it. Rachel came downstairs while I was working. She stopped dead when she saw everything spread out. Her mouth opened like she was about to say something. Then she remembered her game and snapped it shut. Instead, she grabbed her purse and stormed out. The front door slam shook the walls. I heard her on her phone through the window. He's doing it on purpose. I know he is. She was absolutely right. I was doing it on purpose. Sunday morning, I got up at 6, loaded my camera gear and drove to Stone Mountain. Spent 4 hours shooting the sunrise, the fog rolling through the valleys, hikers on the trails. Didn't text Rachel. Didn't tell her where I was going. Came back around 11 to find her pacing in the kitchen. When I walked in, her face flooded with relief. Then she remembered she couldn't acknowledge me, and the relief turned to anger. Her jaw clenched. She wanted to know where I'd been, but asking meant admitting I existed. I spent the afternoon editing photos on my laptop. Rachel hovered nearby doing unnecessary tasks, constantly glancing at my screen. I was editing a shot of sunrise through fog, and I caught her staring at the image. She used to love my photography. Our eyes almost met. She looked away fast. That evening, I cooked pasta. Just 1 serving. Used the good ingredients. The expensive Parmesan. Rachel made herself a salad and sat across from me staring at her sad greens while the smell of my dinner filled the kitchen. She got up after 5 minutes and went upstairs. I heard her crying. For a moment, I felt guilty. Then I remembered she chose this. Every single silent minute of it. Monday arrived. Day 5. I took over the guest bedroom as my new office. Moved in my desk, my second monitor, my good chair, hung my photography prints on the walls. Rachel appeared in the doorway watching me rearrange furniture. She looked conflicted, like she wanted to object but couldn't without speaking to me. She went to her own office and slammed the door. The sound echoed through the house. That afternoon, I blocked off my calendar. Photography time 5 to 7 every evening. I noticed Rachel had a baby shower scheduled for next Saturday that she'd assumed I'd attend with her. I deleted it from my calendar and added Stone Mountain Shoot instead. Tuesday, day 6, I stopped doing the dishes. Just washed my own plate, left hers in the sink. Stopped doing laundry except my own stuff. Her clothes piled up in the hamper. By Wednesday, she was digging through dirty laundry trying to find something to wear. She looked at me like she wanted to say something. Couldn't. Wore the same jeans twice. Thursday was day 7. 1 week of being ignored. I called Tony that morning from my truck between jobs. Told him what was happening. He was quiet for a minute, then said, "Man, that's messed up." "What are you gonna do?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not playing this game for 30 days. 30 days? That's what I'm guessing based on what I overheard. Book club voted on it. Month-long lesson. Tony let out a low whistle. "You're way calmer than I'd be. You need anything, call me. Seriously." I appreciated that. Tony was solid. Had been through his own relationship mess a few years back. He got it. That evening, Rachel's friend Monica came over. They sat in the living room talking. I was in my new office editing photos, but I could hear them through the wall. Monica was saying something about staying strong, about how men need to learn appreciation, about how this would make me a better husband. Rachel was agreeing, saying it was hard but necessary, saying she hoped it would fix things. Fix things. Like I was the broken part. I opened my laptop and started researching something I should have looked into years ago. Divorce attorneys, separation requirements in our state, asset division. Turns out I didn't need grounds for divorce here. Just had to file. I didn't schedule anything yet, but I bookmarked 3 attorney websites, put together a list of our assets, started documenting everything. Friday, day 8, I set up my own grocery delivery, separate from our usual order. Just stuff for me. When it arrived, Rachel was in the kitchen. She watched the delivery guy bring in bags and set them on the counter. Watched me unpack them. I saw her face when she realized I'd only ordered for one person. For a second, I thought she'd break. Thought she'd say something. But she held it together and went upstairs. Weekend 2 was when things really started falling apart for her. Saturday, I went to that baby shower Rachel expected me at. Except I didn't go to the shower. I drove to the mountains instead. 6-hour round trip. Shot all afternoon. Got some incredible photos of waterfalls and autumn leaves. Didn't check my phone once. Came home at 8 that night. Rachel was sitting in the dark living room. She'd been sitting there waiting, I could tell. Her face when I walked in was different. Not angry anymore. Worried. She wanted to know where I'd been for 10 hours. Wanted to know why I'd ignored her all day. But she couldn't ask without breaking her own rule. I went upstairs, showered, and went to bed. She sat in the living room for another hour. I heard her crying again. Heard her on the phone with Monica. "I don't know what to do. He's acting like I don't exist. It's like he's actually gone." Yeah, Rachel. That's what invisible means. Sunday morning, I started packing. Not obviously. Just started organizing my stuff in ways Rachel wouldn't immediately notice. Tools went into their cases instead of staying in the garage loosely. Clothes got sorted. Personal items from before the relationship got set aside. My photography equipment went into the padded cases. I made a list of shared assets on my phone. The couch we'd bought together from Ashley Furniture for $2,000. The bedroom set from Rooms to Go, $3,200. Kitchen table and chairs, $800. The TV was mine from before. The coffee maker was mine. The dishes were wedding gifts. I photographed everything for documentation. Every room, every piece of furniture, every item of value. Took close-ups of serial numbers on electronics. Checked receipts in my email to verify what I'd paid for versus what we'd bought together. Made a spreadsheet. Column 1 item description. Column 2 purchase date. Column 3 cost. Column 4 whose money paid for it. The data was clear. I'd brought about $40,000 worth of assets into this marriage. We'd accumulated maybe $12,000 together. She'd brought in maybe $5,000. The math wasn't hard. Rachel noticed. Of course she noticed. She'd walk past my office and see me sorting through boxes. See me taking photos of rooms. See me organizing stuff into keep versus shared piles. She watched me sort through the closet, watched me pack my photography equipment into cases. Her face got pale. I could see her mind working, trying to figure out if she should break the silence to stop whatever I was planning, trying to calculate if this was worth continuing her game or if she'd already lost something bigger. She didn't break, still committed to the lesson, still convinced she was teaching me something valuable about my place in this relationship. Monday, day 10, I called one of those attorneys I'd bookmarked. Lauren Mitchell. Had good reviews. Specialized in men's divorce cases. We set up a consultation for Wednesday afternoon. I told Rachel I had a service call that would run late. She had no way to verify that since she wasn't speaking to me. Tuesday, I transferred money from our joint account to my personal account. Not all of it, just my half of what was in there. Left her half alone. Then I called the mortgage company and put in my 2 weeks' notice that I'd be moving out. Asked about my options since the house was in my name. They outlined the process. I could sell. I could keep paying and charge her rent. I could move out and let her take over the mortgage if she qualified. She wouldn't qualify on her income. Wednesday, I met with Lauren. Explained the situation. Showed her documentation of Rachel's silent treatment. The coordinated ignoring. The deliberate campaign to make me feel like I didn't exist in my own home. Lauren listened and took notes. When I finished, she sat back and said, "This is emotional abuse. You know that, right?" I hadn't thought about it that way, but hearing her say it out loud made something click. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a lesson. This was calculated cruelty designed to break me down, to make me desperate for her attention, to remind me of my place in the hierarchy. Lauren outlined my options. File for divorce. Simple as that. No grounds needed. Asset division would be straightforward, since I had proof of what I brought into the marriage and what I'd maintained separately. The house was mine before marriage, so it stayed mine. She'd have to move out. I scheduled the filing for the following Monday. That gave me 5 days to prepare. Thursday, day 11, I started apartment hunting online. Found a decent one-bedroom place in Midtown, close to my service area. $1,500 a month. Took a tour during lunch and put in an application. Got approved within 4 hours. Perfect credit, solid income, no issues. Signed a lease to start the 1st of next month. 2 weeks away. Friday, day 12, I rented a small storage unit. Started moving stuff that was definitely mine. Tools I'd bought before we met. My photography equipment. Personal items. Clothes I knew I'd need. Did it while Rachel was at work. Left the house looking normal so she wouldn't notice yet. Saturday, day 13, I went to the bank and opened a new checking account at a different bank. Transferred my direct deposits to the new account starting next week, called Utilities, and set up transfer dates for when I'd be moving out. Called the home security company and removed Rachel's access code. That evening, Rachel tried something different. She came into my office where I was editing photos. Just stood there, looking at me, wanting to talk so badly I could feel it radiating off her, wanting to ask what I was doing, wanting to stop whatever process I was clearly in the middle of, but she couldn't without admitting defeat, without admitting this whole silent treatment thing was stupid and cruel and backfiring spectacularly. We stood there for probably 2 minutes, her staring at me looking back at her calmly. Finally, she turned and left. I heard her in the bedroom on the phone with Monica. Something's happening. I can feel it. He's different. Yeah, Rachel. I was different. I was done. Sunday morning, day 14. 2 weeks of being treated like I didn't exist. I got up early, loaded the last of my personal stuff into the truck. Everything important to me was either in the truck, in storage, or already at the new apartment. I left stuff that was clearly ours. Furniture we'd bought together. Kitchen stuff. Decorations. Wedding gifts. I took what was mine and left the rest. Rachel was still asleep. I grabbed a notepad from my office and wrote one sentence. You wanted me invisible. Granted. Divorce papers coming Monday. Keys on the counter. I put the note on the kitchen table. Put my house key next to it. Walked out through the garage. Closed the door on 2 weeks of silence and 5 years of being undervalued. Drove to my new apartment and started unloading. Tony showed up around 9 without me even calling him. He'd swung by the old house first and saw my truck was gone. Figured out what was happening. You finally did it, he said. Yeah. How you feeling? Honestly? Relieved. We spent the day setting up the apartment. Hung my photography prints on the walls. Set up my office space. Organized everything exactly how I wanted it. Around 3 that afternoon, Tony ordered food. We sat on my new couch eating sandwiches, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. My phone started blowing up around 11 that night. Rachel must have finally woken up, found the note, realized I was actually gone. 53 calls. Over 100 texts. I didn't answer. Didn't read them. Just watched the notifications pile up. Then came calls from Monica, from Rachel's sister, from her mom, from friends whose numbers I didn't even have saved. I blocked them all. Every single one. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Rachel using someone else's phone. Please just tell me where you are. We can talk about this. I responded one time. You didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. I'm returning the favor. Lawyer will be in touch. Then I blocked that number too. I turned off my phone and slept better that night than I had in 5 years. Monday morning, I woke up to sunlight in my apartment. No tension in my shoulders. No knot in my stomach. Just quiet. I made coffee. Stood at the window watching the city wake up. Picked up my camera and shot the morning light hitting the buildings across the street. Golden and warm and full of promise. When I turned my phone back on, there were 63 new notifications. All from Rachel or her friends using different numbers. I deleted them without reading. Changed my number that afternoon. Gave the new one only to people who mattered. Tony, my attorney, business contacts, real friends. Lauren filed the divorce papers that morning like scheduled. Process server delivered them to Rachel at the house that afternoon. She called Lauren's office immediately. Lauren's assistant told her all communication had to go through attorneys. Rachel tried everything over the next 60 days. Called Tony trying to get my new number. Showed up at job sites where she thought I might be. My customers told me some woman had come looking for me. I told them if she came back to call the police for trespassing. Sent letters to my parents' house. My mom called me concerned. I explained the situation. She said, well, she brought this on herself. My mom never particularly liked Rachel anyway. Rachel contested the divorce initially. Her attorney tried arguing this was all over a silly game. Lauren shut that down fast. Presented documentation of the 2-week silent treatment. The coordinated ignoring with her friends. The psychological manipulation. Lauren told me afterward that Rachel's attorney had called the silent treatment campaign emotional abuse to Rachel's face. Told her no judge would have sympathy for that. After 2 months, Rachel finally agreed to mediation. I sat across from her in Lauren's conference room for the first time since day 14. She looked different, thinner, tired, older somehow. She tried to speak to me directly. Lauren cut her off. All communication goes through attorneys, please. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I felt nothing. The complete lack of emotion surprised even me. Settlement was fair. She kept the house but had to refinance the mortgage in her name within 6 months or sell it. She couldn't afford the payments on her salary, so she'd have to sell. We split the joint account 50-50. She owed me $8,400 for overpayment on household expenses I could document. She'd pay that from her half of the house sale proceeds. I kept my truck, my tools, my business, my separate accounts. She kept her car, her personal stuff, her debt. Done in 90 minutes. Clean break. Rachel tried one more time in the parking lot after we signed. Jake, please. Can we just talk? I walked past her like she wasn't there. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. The Midtown apartment was perfect for a single guy. 900 square feet with big windows facing east, so I got incredible morning light. My photography prints covered every wall. The sunrise series above the couch. Mountain landscapes in the hallway. Urban street photography in the bedroom. Each one a reminder of what I'd reclaimed. I'd booked 4 gallery shows in Atlanta. My Instagram following hit 15,000. Started getting inquiries about print sales, about commissioned work, about teaching workshops. I rejoined my old photography collective. Bunch of artists who met up twice a month to critique work and plan group shows. First gallery show was in the old 4th Ward. 35 of my prints on display. Decent crowd showed up. People who appreciated the work, who asked intelligent questions about composition and light and technique. Tony came, brought some mutual friends I hadn't seen in years. They all said the same thing. Man, we missed you. Glad you're back. One woman bought 4 prints. Said she'd been following my Instagram and loved how my recent work captured transformation and freedom. You can feel the change in your life through these images, she said. She was right. Every photo from the last 6 months carried a weight of liberation. You could see it in the compositions, in the light I chose, in the subjects I found worth capturing. I shot every weekend. Mountains, coast, city streets, abandoned buildings downtown, parks at sunrise, neighborhoods I'd never explored. My calendar stayed full with gallery openings, photo walks, artist meetups, dated occasionally. Nothing serious yet. Wasn't rushing. Enjoyed being selective and intentional. Made my own meals on my own schedule. No more walking on eggshells. No more managing someone else's emotions. No more sacrificing pieces of myself to keep peace. The business grew too. Picked up 12 new maintenance contracts. Hired a second helper because Ronnie couldn't keep up with demand. Cleared 11 grand in August, 10 in September. Business was booming because I had the mental space to actually focus on it instead of dealing with constant drama at home. Heard through mutual acquaintances that Rachel had to sell the house. Couldn't afford the mortgage. Moved into an apartment near her parents. Still working at the dental office. Still spending money she didn't have based on credit card debt friends mentioned. still single. The affair partner from her book club fantasy, whatever friend had encouraged this mess, had apparently distanced herself after watching it blow up in Rachel's face. One night around month 8, I was at a coffee shop in Virginia Highlands editing photos. Rachel walked in. We made eye contact across the room. She froze. Clearly wanted to come over. Wanted to explain or apologize or plead or whatever. I held her gaze for a moment, then looked back at my laptop. Complete dismissal. Not cruel. Just done. She stood there for several seconds, then left without ordering. My buddy sitting with me asked, "Was that her?" "Yeah." "You okay?" I looked around at my life. My laptop covered in photography stickers. My camera bag beside me. My freedom to be here on a Wednesday afternoon. My life exactly as I wanted it. I'm better than okay. People ask me now if I regret how it ended. The truth is, it didn't end on day 14 when I walked out. It ended 2 weeks earlier when Rachel and her book club voted to make me invisible. They just didn't realize it yet. They thought the silent treatment would teach me my place, would make me desperate for attention, would remind me how much I needed her. Instead, it taught me how much I didn't. Rachel wanted to teach me appreciation. What I learned was self-respect. And that lesson stuck. Stay sharp, Reddit. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.